Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with reference recordings. And today we're talking about one of the great 20th century ballets. I'm speaking, of course, of Manuel de Falla's The Three-Cornered Hat, El Sombrero de Tres Picos. Oh my goodness, what a wonderful ballet this is. It's just lovely, delightful, full of colorful rhythms and fabulous tunes. And like everything Falla wrote, it's written with incredible precision and finesse. There's not a note out of place in it anywhere. It began life actually as sort of a ballet pantomime for a chamber ensemble. Then he blew it up for full orchestra, thank God, and added the final jota, that concluding da 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 dum ba da 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 da. Oh, it's wonderful. And that was, all they wrote. They premiered it in 1919, and the rest is history, except that the premiere was conducted by the then young Ernest Ansermet. And he went on to make two recordings of it, one in mono, one in stereo. And the stereo is the reference recording. I mean, it has been since the dawn of time. It's very interesting because we don't always have, that kind of provenance for, classic works. I mean, and this is a classic piece of music in the sense that it's a repertory staple. The two suites get played all the time. The whole ballet should get played all the time because it's just gorgeous, and it's not long. It's about 38 minutes long. In other words, it's as long as your average symphony. So you can do the whole ballet as like a second half piece, and it works fantastically well. You do need a soprano to do a couple very brief little singy things at the beginning and in the middle. But other than that, one of the things that fascinates me about Falla, and his combination of sensuality of melody and surface polish, but also there's an austerity underlying it all. You realize that this ballet is written like a Brahms symphony. I mean, Brahms has, his whole first symphony, it goes by until the finale. You don't hear any trombones until they come in at the very last movement. That's also true of Brahms' fourth and things like that. He reserves his orchestral forces and deploys them very strategically. Well, Falla does the same thing. I mean, the entire orchestration of this ballet up till that final dance, the big jota, has no trombones and like two horns, but it sounds as rich and full and absolutely, you'd never know that you're dealing with what is essentially a chamber orchestra until you get to the last 5 minutes. And it works incredibly well. It's just so brilliantly laid out. It's beautiful with that sort of mathematical precision. And mathematical precision is what you think about when you think about Ansermet, because he was a mathematician. That was his initial training before he went into music and became a conductor. And so, as I said, there are two recordings. Both of them are on Decca. The first is mono, and it's kind of grotty sounding and grottily played. It's okay. It's not, fabulous. And the second is in stereo, and here it is. This is one of its releases. It also came out in the Decca Legends, and of course it's in the Ansermet box and all of that stuff. It was recorded originally in looks like 62 or 71. Which was it? 62, I would think, because Ansermet was, I think, dead by 71. But, maybe they'll tell us in a little bit more detail. Let's see. Recording location, Victoria Hall, Geneva, September 1970. Okay, so that's Nights in the Gardens of Spain on this disc. February 1961. There it is. Of course, it's February 1961 because Ansermet died, 68, I think, somewhere around there. Anyway, it's a splendid performance, but it's very interesting, actually, to compare the two of them because they're not the same. There are some differences of emphasis and accent that are kind of cool that you can hear right away. But I like to hear both sometimes, but this is clearly the better performance. First of all, the Orchestra de la Suisse Romande in 1961 was a much better ensemble than they were in the early 50s, when most European orchestras were recovering from the war. And the Orchestra de la Suisse Romande was never a great orchestra anyway, particularly not back then. And so, you want to hear the later one. The stereo recording is excellent. It's a wonderful sonic example of what Decca could do in that hall with that band at that time. It's just lovely, and the performance is just propulsive and rhythmically taut and sensitive to every nuance of the work, and it doesn't really sound like anyone else's either. Most performances since this have sort of hit the rhythms maybe a little harder, and they've been a bit quicker by and large, but you can't gainsay the authority of this performance, number one. And number two, because Ansermet conducted the premiere and he was the guy, this is the reference. And it still is, and it still deserves to be forevermore. Amen. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.